This is episode 5 of Triple Cross Cinema. I'm Whooper, and here's Mario.
Hello everyone, I'm Mario.
Mario and I are going to be talking about 3 noir films today.
Yep,
I think all the films that we've seen so far in the past 4 episodes of this podcast have been the year 2000 and beyond. Is that right?
yep, yep.
Yeah. So now
This
we're
is like,
winding back the
yeah, this
clock.
is that's right. This is one of the oldest film that we have watched for the podcast.
Yeah. Although I remembered recently, I mean, I haven't seen a whole lot of movies, but the
Yep.
oldest film that I've ever seen, I think, is Mr. Smith Goes to Washington,
All right.
which predates the Maltese Falcon by like 2 years.
Yep. It's
So
1939.
yeah,
Yep.
so I still haven't gone back further than that film that I had to watch in my 11th grade civics class.
Hmm.
Eventually, I will go past it, but for now, we're sticking to films ranging from 1941 to I believe 1950 with Sunset Boulevard.
That's
And we're
right.
talking about film noir, of course. And
So,
I don't know. You want to do? Should we do a song and dance about what film noir is, like everyone else who's read the Wikipedia article? Or
nah, let's just say the three film that we will discuss actually. So the Maltese Falcon from 1941, Double Indemnity from 1944, and Sunset Boulevard from 1950.
right?
I think we can just do, in uh in year order.
Yeah, chronological order. So starting with the
Yep,
Maltese Falcon.
yep, let's do that.
Okay. So I already sent you a picture. Whenever
Oh
I watch
God.
these films, after they finish playing, I take screenshots as the film is playing to remember things that I can go back to,
Yep.
and then after the film finishes, I sit and I write up my thoughts and my notes. So I got a full page of notes for Double Indemnity, a full page of notes for Sunset Boulevard, and for the Maltese Falcon, I just wrote, "Huh?" Because this film just completely lost me, man.
All right.
I'm just not smart enough for films from the 1940s.
You know what? When Rupert told me that he really enjoyed the noir this noir film, I was thinking that it's the multi-film that he really liked it.
Oh yeah.
And when he said I don't enjoy the noir film anymore, and I thought like it was the repetition of Double in Indemnity and Sunset Boulevard that set him off.
It's interesting that you would say repetition because I found all 3 of these films to be wildly different.
I think that the structure from the Double in Indemnity and Sunset Boulevard are basically the same. They start
Yes.
with they start with the present and then they go back to the flashback.
Right. They start what's the term? In media res.
Yep, yep, yeah,
Um,
that's right.
but in Sunset Boulevard, Joe is already dead, whereas in Double Indemnity,
Yep,
Walter is dying. He's not
about
dead
to die.
yet.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's true that they repeated that sort of technique, but both films had very different goals, I would say.
Yep, yep, yep. I
Whereas
agree on
I'm
that.
not sure like
I
what was the point of the Maltese Falcon? I don't.
All right.
Was the point
I
just
think.
to flatter Humphrey Bogart and like inflate his ego? What was the point of this film?
All right. The point of this film is, yeah, they're chasing a MacGuffin that might or might not be real, and I think you can boil down to like noir film as two aspects. So one aspect is like the corruption of like the main protagonist that we see in like these other two movies, and the other one is just like a simple murder mystery that like a private uh, detective like fight himself off. So yeah, I think like it's the characteristic of noir film, and this one is fall into the latter category.
What do you mean? It's a
It's
detective story?
it's the yeah a murder mystery and a detective who's stick his noses where he's not belong.
Would you really characterize this film as a murder mystery?
It's not really a murder mystery. No, it's a mystery as a whole. Yes.
I would say if this film is a murder mystery, it is the worst one I've ever seen.
Right.
because
Yeah, go on.
the cops are questioning him, thinking that he was the one who killed them. Uh,
Yep.
but there's obviously that's not believable to us as the audience because he's the main character. And the question of who killed what are their names, like the
All right, which one?
Floyd something, and then his name started with an A,
All right. His partner is Archer.
right? Archer.
Uh,
And then the
the
other
guy,
guy who killed Archer, or
the
we
other guy
think
who,
that he killed Archer, but he didn't actually kill Archer or
yep.
something.
Yep.
I can't
I'm
remember. That
getting
guy's name
his,
was like Floyd Turner or something.
yep. Get into his name
But it doesn't.
now.
Does it even really matter who killed them to the plot of the film?
Yep. Floyd Thursby. That's it.
Thursby.
Yep.
Okay. Does it does it matter at all? Like who killed them in the movie? By
Well,
the halfway
they,
point, the like he's not even concerned about that anymore.
yeah, but by the end, we found out that he's still concerned about that. So
Right.
the girl get arrested for killing his partner.
Right. But I mean, the way that the film presents that information to us, he's just like, "You killed him, didn't you?
Yeah.
Tell me you killed him. You killed him, didn't you?" And she's like, "Yes, I did
I
it." But what? Like at that point, who cares about that murder anymore? I didn't. I mean, because the film went away from it for so long, and when it veers back, and it's like, oh, he cared about his partner all along. He was just after the truth the entire time. At that point, I didn't care whether he was after the truth or not. It wasn't important to me, and I also didn't believe it.
Yep.
So I don't know. I will say I did enjoy watching this film, but only because it made me laugh. And we were briefly talking about this before we clicked record and started doing this podcast. We were talking about
Yep.
like unintentional moments of comedy. For example, the scene where Humphrey Bogart is walking with what's his face?
Yeah. The
The guy from New York who's supposed to be like the hitman. They're walking
Yep.
through, and he pulls the jacket down over his shoulders so he can't move his arms. And then he grabs his guns.
Yep.
Just the choreography of that scene and the acting in that scene is so I don't know. I mean, it's laughable by today's standards. That just like tickled my funny bone. There are other
Yeah.
moments like that as well, but that was definitely the biggest laugh for me.
Yeah. And all the punching scenes,
Right, and the slapping.
it looks, yeah, it looks so amateurish.
Well, at one point he slaps a guy and he says, you're gonna get slapped and you're gonna like it."
Yep.
Thankfully,
Yep.
it was a man he said it to and not a woman. Although I would not have been surprised if it happened to a
Yep.
woman in this movie.
Yep. So
Like
yeah,
I
I think this is,
Go ahead.
yep. Go. Oh, I just say that I think this is the movie that introduced many, like many archetype and many concept about noir. So we have like the film fatale. We have the detective who, like who is a bit corrupted as well, and he's not really likable by any means. We get like the very definition of MacGuffin, like they're chasing something that's very precious, but at the end it's not it isn't really matter.
Right. Yeah, like in Pulp Fiction, what's in the briefcase?
Yep.
But in Pulp Fiction, the way that they frame the briefcase and especially the light that it emits whenever they open it up and take a look at it, and a lot of the dialogue surrounding it makes you're not necessarily interested. Like the whole movie doesn't hang on what's in the briefcase, but it is it's like
Something very important.
cinematographically and kind of it's interesting. Like the way that it's framed, the way that it's talked about, it's interesting. I didn't
Yep.
get that sense with the Maltese Falcon.
Yep.
Maybe that's just because I was struggling through much of the movie to understand the plot.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
the way that they talk about so much of the
I
film is set in rooms and it's people talking to each other about things that happened elsewhere that we never see.
I
Tons of the movie
actually,
is like that, and
yep.
it makes it a little hard to follow. I mean, it makes it very hard to follow, honestly.
I think my issue with following the plot is not like you said, uh like things happen a lot, but more like they talk a lot, and they spoiler a lot
They
of.
spoiler a lot.
Yeah, they just like they would sit like two people or a few more, and then yeah, like, like they said about the event of other stuff, and
Right. Well, it's like expository dialogue basically. They're telling you
yep,
what
yep,
happened
yep, yep,
somewhere else that you never see. You just hear
yep,
about it from people who are talking really quickly
yep.
and through their nose like this. They're talking like this. See? Now listen
Oh,
here.
I think that what people talk in the
No way.
1940s.
There's no way people were walking around talking like that. Maybe they started to after this film was such a success. Maybe there were people who like adopted Humphrey Bogart's persona as their own.
Yep,
But it's such like a it's such an acting choice. It's such a put on. Like it's a contrivance.
yep,
It's kind of interesting in like the sound and the rhythm that it creates in the
hmm,
dialogue
yep.
and in the film as a whole. It's kind of
But
cool, but
but it never sounds natural, right?
well, yeah. Well, I don't think film noir is supposed to be natural in any
Yep.
way.
Hmm.
It's so I don't know. It's the opposite of naturality. I mean,
Stage.
everything's dark, everything's exaggerated.
Yep.
Um,
Hmm.
I think it's that way on purpose. But
Yep.
man, I don't know. I just have so little. Like I said, was the only thing that I wrote about this movie. With a big fat question mark after it. I don't know what to say about it. I did think that there
Well,
was a tremendous amount of irony in the scene where Bogart's character, what's his name?
yep.
Sam Spade.
Sam Spade. Yep.
When Sam meets the fat man for the first time,
Yep.
the fat man says, as they're both taking a drink, "Here's to plain speaking and clear understanding." I thought that was extremely funny and
All
ironic
right.
because the way that they're talking obscures their speech, and the speed of their speech obscures your understanding. Like the film is designed not to be plain spoken or clearly understood. And yet there's a line of dialogue. Here's to just being easily accessible.
Yep.
I,
All
I
right.
I have to assume that was intentional because there's another scene where he's talking really quickly to the district attorney, and then
Yep.
he's like rattling off stuff about how he's not going to cooperate with them because then they'll just throw him under the bus. And then he looks over at the stenographer who's typing everything
Yep.
down, and he says, "Am I going too fast for you, son?"
Yep.
So clearly, the film is aware of
If
its own
Yep.
trappings, but
Yep. Yep.
that doesn't make it really any easier to process for me.
All right. You haven't watched Screwball comedy then, because they even talk faster than this.
Right. Well, I was thinking after I watched this movie because it kind of
Yep.
perplexed me. I was thinking
Yep.
about like because I haven't seen very many old films, so I was thinking about what this style of filmmaking might lend itself to in terms of content and genre and stuff like that. And I was thinking
Right.
maybe in like comedies, this style of fast talking would be easier, like would be more palatable, because
Yep.
then you can rely on the kind of the charisma and the
Yep.
tempo of the
Yep.
performances, and that would feed directly into the style that the movie is going for. Whereas in a drama with a lot of information that you have to process, it kind of works like it kind of counteracts what the film is
Yep.
trying to achieve almost.
Yep.
So in a comedy,
Yeah.
in a screwball comedy, I might be like, oh, well, this is just the greatest thing ever because this is like uproariously funny. But in this film, I'm like, wait, so he got off the ship and then they lit it on fire, but then he was actually it was the woman who he was partners with, but then she killed that other guy at before the movie even started, and huh?
No, no. All right. I would lie to you that that I rewatched this the Maltese Falcon, and it still hooked me from start to finish. Like there are some scenes some scenes that doesn't really make total sense to me. But I think like the main plot of a guy who like who have to investigate what around them, like, and to unfold all the secrets, and then like keep getting plunged into like more and more more of the depth of of the secret behind it. It really fascinating me, and even if Sam Spade is much less he, likable this time around. Like I don't remember I like this character, but this time it struck me that he really unlikable. He's still I think good enough for me to flow him from one end to the other. One part of it because like I also don't can guess what he does next.
Yeah, and the film itself talks up that aspect of his character. Like you're
Yeah, yeah.
wild and unpredictable is the phrase.
Yeah, they overplay that for sure.
Yeah, well, not only the wild and unpredictable thing, but in general, a lot of dialogue is like paying lip service to his character. Like
Yep.
what's the femme fatale's name?
The right, that's her name
Is it
is
Bridget?
yeah, Bridget O'Shaughnessy.
Right.
I don't know how to pronounce her
It's
last name is
O'Shaughnessy, I think. But
O'Shaughnessy.
she's
Yeah.
yeah, she's Bridget. She calls him wild and unpredictable. She says that he's like strong and brave. The fat
Yeah.
man keeps saying that he's like quite a
Ooh.
character, and oh, I would of course want you to come along to Istanbul with me, and
Yep.
you're just such an entertaining man, and he's whenever he's talking to his friend on the police force and his partner, he's like, you know, get your hands off me, Sonny. Here, see, get your hands off me. Yeah, he's like
Yep.
all of his dialogue is sneered, like through his nose, and he's just I mean he's a real bastard. His
Yep.
I wouldn't want to have a conversation with him ever in my life. It's kind of interesting, but the film is so eager to like praise him, and talk about his not his virtues, but his I don't know how cool he is and stuff. I mean, why didn't they just have him? Why didn't they just say, "Man, you must have a really huge dick"? Why didn't they? Why not throw a line in there like that? I mean, that would have fallen directly in line with the rest of the praise that the film was giving to him. I bet it's as thick as a Coke can. Like what? It's just the film just seemed really eager to talk about how cool Sam Spade was, and
Yep.
I thought it was a little embarrassing, frankly.
And speaking of that, I think I really enjoy the fact that they he heard about the Falcon, but he never know like the true identity of it until like the fat man spoiled out to him. And I in that respect though, I don't think that the credit scene where we get introduced about the Falcon really necessary.
Oh, you're talking about the title crawl or the text
Yep.
crawl near the
Yeah,
start?
yep.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, it wasn't particularly necessary. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the idea was that people had come to see a movie called The Maltese Falcon and they would have been like confused or disappointed if they had
Yep.
watched the film without that bit of information at the front because The Maltese Falcon is not they don't even bring it up as a topic until
Yep.
halfway through the film. Like around the 50-minute mark is where he has that conversation with the fat man about the Maltese Falcon. So maybe they just wanted to put that up like up front and be like, okay, you're here to see a film called The Maltese Falcon. Don't worry, it is important, but look how cool Sam Spade is. We got to go through that for 50 minutes before we get into the Maltese Falcon plot.
Yep.
So I didn't mind that little bit of text there. I took a screenshot of it,
Yep.
and then after I got all the way
Uh,
through the film and I was looking at all the screenshots I took, I just immediately deleted that one. I was like, that's not important. It doesn't matter. So
how do you take off the film for tail characters?
I didn't,
Bridget.
out of all three of the leading women in these films, like I was not convinced at all by the relationship between her and Sam Spade. What was the dialogue at the end about like him loving her or her loving him or
Yep.
they had like I didn't sense that
Yep.
there was any sort of relationship burgeoning between them. He just like kisses her a couple times throughout the film as a sign
I
of his
I
own like I don't know,
I
dominance.
I call that sexual harassment.
Oh well, sure, yes, of course. By today's standards, you can't put that in a film and expect people not to review bomb it on Rotten Tomatoes or whatever. But it was just like there was no romance between them whatsoever in this film. There was nothing romantic about a single thing that either of them did in each other's presence. Am I just crazy for thinking that?
Yeah, I saw very little, like romantic tension between them.
Yeah, I didn't understand it. Um, maybe the like when people went to see movies back
Yep.
in this time period, it was like naturally understood by the audience that the main like the leading man and the leading woman were just going to be they were going to get together in some capacity. Like that was so ingrained in the minds of filmgoers back then that the like directors and writers didn't feel as though they needed to do any sort of legwork in establishing the relationship. Like people just came into the theater like, "Oh, who's the leading actress? Who's the leading actor?" So they're just going to that's just going to happen. They're just going to be together.
Yep.
So they didn't feel like it was necessary to build a relationship between the two characters because it already existed in the minds of the people sitting in the cinema.
Yep. Oh,
Um,
and do you know like that the one scene that I feel so ridiculous.
what's that?
You know, that's the film where remember like what happened to the ship that like it's got burned down,
Right?
and then when Sam Spade and the girl is in the room, there's one guy who like getting shot holding the Falcon and then die on spot, and
Yes, that's right.
get we never get to know that character before. We never get to see that character before. And later on, I learned that he captained Jacoby, which is like supposedly he's the captain of the ship that like the whole thing happened off screen that we didn't know of.
Right. And she was his well, it wasn't Bridget in the room with him at the time. It was his secretary.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. My bad, my bad. Yes,
Um,
that's right.
but it that she was in Bridget was like in league with the captain, right? Where
Yep.
they were partners, and she was also in league with one of the two murder victims at the very start of the story. I can't remember which one. Not his partner, but the other guy,
Yeah,
Floyd or
yeah.
something.
Floyd.
Yeah,
Yep,
and she kills him
yep.
because she doesn't want to have to split the profits.
No, 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 no. It's I. All right. So I think she manipulated the hitman guy. I think his name is Wilder something
Yeah.
to kill him, and she's the one who killed the partner.
Oh, she's the one who killed Archer.
Yep,
Why
yep,
did she kill
yep.
Archer?
Because they wanted she wanted her partner. Sorry, she wanted her partners to kill Sam partner. But when that didn't happen, she killed him himself.
Why did she
You
want
know,
to
just
kill Sam's partner?
all right. I think she just want to make some noise.
What? What does that even mean?
I have no idea. I think no, no. I think the fact that she killed his son partner in order to frame her partner to be murdered by the other guy. That's what I think. Like she framed the whole thing to make it. You
So
know.
she just needed to kill somebody, like anybody at all, in order to frame
Yes.
her partner. But her
Yes.
partner ended up dying.
And to well, yeah. That's some sort of the plot. But yep.
There is some sort of plot, that's true. I found it really difficult. Like the fact that the film opens like two murders have happened within the first 5 minutes.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and then the film goes on for a while, like theorizing about how that happened. And then
Yep.
as the film goes on and it becomes more about the intrigue of the Maltese Falcon and the Fat Man, it kind of forgets about that. And then it loops around to being all about that the entire time when
Yep.
it gets to the
Yep.
end. I wasn't
Yep.
convinced by that structure.
Yep. Yep.
Um, and I'm sure that there are many people who love this film who say, "Oh, well, the plot doesn't matter. It's all about the style of it. It's all about the fact that
Yep.
it started film noir."
Yeah, the
And
charisma
per-
of Sam Spade.
right. Well, perhaps that's true. Perhaps the plot really doesn't matter. But despite that, it is a very plot-heavy film.
Yep.
It
Yep.
has characters stand and sit in rooms and talk for minutes at a time about plots that are happening that you don't ever see, but nevertheless, it is delivering that plot and expecting you to follow along.
Yep.
So I don't know how good a defense it is to say that this film is not about the plot.
Yep.
That said, if you love the style of this film and you love the performances in this film, you will naturally be more interested in it, and will probably your brain will like be more active, and you'll follow the plot better because you'll be more receptive to it. But I
Yep.
wasn't. The style of this film, I don't know, wasn't particularly.
Yep.
It didn't really grab me. I mostly
Yep.
just laughed at the the moments of unintentional comedy. You know what? I will say this. It like sometimes I watch a film and it's just dragging, and I'm like, please, when will this be over? This film
Yep.
passed very quickly for me.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I can't say that I didn't enjoy it. I just didn't think that it was. I don't know.
Great
Yeah,
movies.
I just didn't think it was like a really great movie. Obviously,
Yep.
it has that reputation. Nothing I say will ever change that.
Yep.
But I didn't. I guess I didn't really like it that much. But I didn't really dislike it. I don't know.
Yep. All right. Cool.
Oh, I have
So
one.
yeah.
I have one major question.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like midway through the film, when he has that conversation with the fat man, and then they drug him. Why
Yep.
don't they just kill him?
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary for them to consider killing him yet, because I think they just like go there, take the Falcon, and just be gone.
Go where? Take the
So
Falcon and be gone.
yeah, they go to the ship, right, and to take the Falcon, and I just think that they don't think they will meet subspace ever again. So
I know, but he knows that they're after the Falcon.
yeah, well,
Why
well,
wouldn't they kill him? They've been hunting for this treasure for 17 years.
yeah.
17 years, he says, the fat man says over and over. 17
Yep.
years. I've been waiting 17 years. Uh,
What have for 1 or 2 more years?
yeah, well, what's one or two more bodies? Like, why not just kill this guy? You've
Yep.
divulged your plan to him. Why not just kill him? In fact,
Yep.
later on in the film, when he meets the fat man again, Sam is talking to them about what he says, and at that juncture, you decided to slip me a Mickey. And then
Yep.
the fat man replies, "There was no place for you in our plan, sir."
Yep.
If there's
Yep.
no
Yep.
place for him in their plan, that means he's irrelevant. He doesn't factor into their plan at all. So killing
Yep.
him wouldn't make a difference. They
Yep.
could have just killed
Uh,
him there. In fact, they could have. There was a second time they could have killed him, and that was
yep.
after they leave the apartment. They find out that the
Uh-huh.
Maltese Falcon is fake, and they're like, "Well, guess we'll just go to Istanbul and keep looking for it." Why don't they just kill Sam then? I mean, he literally the very next thing he does is he goes over to the phone and calls the cops. Why would you?
Alrighty.
Why would you not kill him?
Yep. Nope. I don't know.
I mean, even audiences in 1941, somebody in the theater must have thought, "Why do they let this guy live? They have guns. Why wouldn't you
Yeah.
just
Well,
kill this bitch?" Like he's
I think I think some space is protected by like by the shield of the protagonist.
oh well, sure, yeah, plot armor.
Yeah.
I mean that's undoubtedly true. The fat man is, obviously he has some affection for Sam. He thinks he's quite a character and so on and so forth. But he has dedicated a good portion of his life to
Yep.
the location and the possession of this treasure, and he throws it all away
And
two times
all right.
by letting
Yeah.
Sam live.
Actually now that I'm thinking about it, remember like when he asked for the 10,000 back,
Right,
and then Sam like took 1 or 2 notes from it. I think it's like 1,000, and said like this is my fees
right, for my time. Yeah,
for my time, and then like the farmer agreed and left, and then like later on he said like this is the 1,000 that I'm supposed to be bribed with.
right. Yeah, he left
That's
he left the
amazing.
bill behind, which could be traced. Like
All
based on
right.
serial numbers on money. You can
All
like trace where
right.
they came from and stuff.
Oh. Oh, so that's what he meant. So I think that makes a lot of sense now. All
I
right.
certainly didn't understand like the not killing him the
Yep.
first time. I guess I can understand that because they knock him out cold. They think that they're
Yep.
going to get the Maltese Falcon right away by burning the boat, I guess,
Yep.
and snuffing out the whoever's got it
Yep.
or
Yep.
something.
Yep. Yep.
So they think, oh well, we'll just while he's unconscious, we'll go and do this, and then we'll make our way out of town with the Maltese Falcon in hand. So maybe not killing him there, that's fine. But the second time, after they've failed to get the Maltese Falcon and they've dragged this cop or this private detective along with them all this way and divulged so much information about themselves and their plan, and then they just leave and leave him there. And I mean, I guess the thing that makes this gnaw at me and like kind of gets stuck in my brain and I can't get past it is the fact that his very next move, like the literal second that they walk out the door, he just walks over to the phone and calls the
Yep.
cops. I truly don't understand
Yep.
that. I don't think I will ever hear an
Yep.
explanation for that that makes any sense.
Yep. Yep. Nah, don't try it.
Yeah. So Humphrey,
Uh,
this was like Bogart's. Is it? If I understand correctly, this was like the revitalization of his career.
I have no idea, but it's definitely like one of his most famous acting career. But he also very good at Casablanca.
Hmm.
We could give that a try sometime.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Like, sure, Casablanca's super famous. I'm sure I will eventually see it. I don't know if I'll
Yep.
appreciate it at all. Like, Bogart's
The,
performance in this film is mostly,
but
I don't know, like based on superiority. He's just
yeah,
better than
well,
everybody. And I don't. Is there a lot of
I
room for an actor to maneuver within a role that has been written for them where they're just better than everybody else by default? I don't know.
yep,
I don't think so.
yep. Well, let's see.
So
Um,
does that mean that other roles that were written for him after this film are going to be similar and that he's just like smarter, better looking, has a bigger penis than everybody else and hooray for Humphrey Bogart might as well be the name of all of his films beyond this point? Is that what's going to
yeah,
happen?
well, I can say you that this like this era is where like meta acting isn't like isn't available yet. So it's more like the actor persona or charisma that carry through.
Right.
So that might be the point, but he appeared to be a bit different in Casablanca. So
Okay. Well, I've looked up Casablanca, of course,
yep.
and it doesn't say that Casablanca is a noir film, like on the
No, it's not a
Wikipedia
noir
page
film.
or
It's
anything.
it's like a straight on a romance drama film,
Yeah, I think I might
and
appreciate that a little more. Who knows?
yeah, and
And
it's
Ingrid Bergman is
supposed to.
also very, very beautiful, so that would help.
Yep. Yep. Casablanca isn't it is supposed to be just a little small film that released, by the Hollywood, and it just gained its steam later on and become like one of the definitive title in the Hollywood golden era now. So
Right. Yeah, I've read that about
yep,
Casablanca, is that nobody had that sort of expectation for it.
yeah. So yeah, it will be interesting to watch. I will make a list that we can include that.
We've already got dozens of films listed out
Yeah,
that
I
we're
know.
due to watch.
All right. Next one.
Sure.
Double Indemnity.
Right.
I would say that out of the three films, I enjoy this one the most, and I still enjoy this one the most
Yeah, I
out of
agree.
this rewatch.
I thought this film was excellent.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
I,
I noted that Phyllis
yep.
is wearing those glasses in that scene where you know how they have to communicate with each other in the supermarket to avoid
Hmm.
detection. Those glasses that she's wearing aren't those the glasses that the woman in Chungking Express wears?
Yep.
Yeah.
Uh,
I didn't have anywhere else that I was going with that. I just noticed
All
that.
right. I was waiting for your punchlines.
So I guess that means that Wong Kar-wai is a fan of Double Indemnity,
Right.
which is cool because I enjoyed this film a lot. I thought that
Yeah.
it had I like all three of the noir films. You know, the main, like, the male lead is kind of a slick talking, kind of wise
Yep.
guy sort of character.
Yep.
I bought it. Like, I fell for it the hardest while watching this movie.
Right.
You know, because Walter, the main character, he's kind of smarmy. You know, he's a jerk,
Yep.
but he's really good at it.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
and you can even buy that he's good at it because the smartest character in the film has, you know, thinks that he like, he wants him as his partner.
Yep.
The smartest character in the film being Keys,
Yep.
who I just thought, the Keys was my favorite. He was
I
amazing. The
agree.
monologue that he gives, where he's like dressing down the CEO or the president of their company, and he's talking
Yep.
about all the ways that people commit suicide, and he's rattling off all the different sorts of poisons that they
Yep.
use. That
Oh, that's
was,
amazing.
to me, that scene justifies all the fast talking in the noir movement or
Yeah.
genre, whatever you
All
want to
right.
call it. It proves that it's not just for show. Like, it can be cool as hell
Yep.
and add something to
I
somebody's character when they talk that fast and, like, are that whip smart. You know, I was
yeah.
amazed. I was transfixed as he was listing off all the suicide methods.
Yep. Well, when I thinking of double in indemnity, I think about, like this guy who, get into the darkness by, by killing, by become a murderer and to go off with the girl.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking of, like I think this one is like the one of the most famous of femme fatale
Yeah,
days. But like watching this again, I just realized like how really good Keys the character is, and
yeah.
he's kind of like elevated the whole movie into greatness for me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, his fondness for Walter
Yep,
is pivotal to, like, the climactic scene of the film, where
yep,
Walter's
yep,
slumped
yep,
over in the doorway of their office building, dying,
yep.
and you know,
He
he's
light the match.
yeah, he lights the match, yeah, of course, and he does it the same way that Walter does it throughout the film,
Yep,
if my
yep.
memory serves me, by just rubbing, you know, flicking it with his thumb.
Fingers. Yeah.
They did it in Double Indemnity and Sunset Boulevard as well. Joe in Sunset
Right.
Boulevard did the same thing.
Uh, little thing that I don't think you noticed. I think you have noticed, but it directed by the same directors,
Billy
and
Wilder.
yeah, and written by him as well. So
Well, he was
I
one of the writers on Sunset
on
Boulevard.
Double Indemnity,
I think there
and
were
he one
others.
of the writer in Double Indemnity as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one I think is his first time as a director. I think
Hmm.
he has been really famous as a screenwriter before, and like upon watching, like I think upon watching a script that he wrote that directed by another director that he hated it, so he decided he become a director himself.
Yeah. Well, I'll just do it myself then. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's
We've
that
all
that.
we've all felt like that before. Maybe not about a movie, but about something. Well, I'll just do it
Yep,
myself then.
yep.
Um,
Oh,
yeah,
and
it's
and the
go ahead.
and the whole plot about like plotting a perfect murder, and like he carry on with that. It just like it felt so. Yeah, it just felt so uh you know great to watch.
Yeah. Well, it's
I
really involving, and you get to see
Yep,
it play out. That's the thing. If you
yep,
contrast Double Indemnity with the Maltese Falcon,
yep,
much of
yep,
what happens in the Maltese Falcon, much of what the film is concerned with, does not happen on screen.
yep,
Whereas Double Indemnity is so laser focused on this murder plot and the
yep,
relationship between Walter and Phyllis and the relationship between Walter and Keys. Like, those
yep.
those are the only things that the film is concerned with, and you see all of it happen. It's true that it
And
starts in media res, but the
yep,
film loops back around to it so effectively, and in fact, it cuts back to him on the office phone or whatever, like the memo system
Yep. Yep. Yep.
multiple
Yep.
times throughout the film to keep you oriented in that point in time, so
Yep.
that when it ends there, your brain is like anticipating it.
Yep.
It
Yep.
it
That's
doesn't
right.
show it only at the beginning and at the end, you know. Although it could have gotten away with that too, probably, but the it's just really intricately designed, I think, the
Yep.
script,
Yep.
and the way it plays out is really gratifying. Yeah, it's
And
it's good.
and not only him Walter with Phyllis on him with Keys, but also like later on he spent some time with Lola as well.
Right. Well, that's
And
that's not as I
yep.
central, I guess, but it is important in that she kind of delivers like the nail in the coffin in terms of his like faith in Phyllis, I guess, or his
Hmm.
affection for her. When
Hmm.
she says the thing about her trying on like the veil, the hat and
Yep.
the veil in the mirror, when he hears that, you can tell like it's over.
Yep. 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 Yep.
I don't know. I don't remember if
I
that was before or after he realized that she was shacking up with Zacchetti, Lola's ex-boyfriend.
yep.
Obviously, that would put the nail in the
Is
coffin as well. But oh, do you remember whether it was before or after?
before. So
Okay.
like, all
So
right.
even before he learns that she's with another man, he already has a piece of information that in his mind is like this is one
Yeah.
cold woman. Like I gotta get out of this somehow.
Yeah. 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 I think it's based mostly from what he heard throughout case investigation that Nino was seen at like several nights
Oh, that's right.
alone with Phyllis.
He
Yeah,
does learn that from Keys. Yeah.
yeah, and he have like like the suspicion, and then it's confirmed by Lola that like um yeah, Nino had been away for several nights.
Yeah, he wasn't available on the night of the murder,
Yep,
and that makes
yep,
her think that Nino did it. That's what's so interesting is that like there's an avenue available to Walter to just pin all of this on Zacchetti. He could
that's
he could
right.
easily do it, but he doesn't because he's
Yep.
just so sick of the entire plot that he's gotten himself wrapped up
Oh,
in.
I love the fact that like after like a perfect murders, he said like he can hear his own footstep, and he said like it's the walk of the dead man.
Right.
I love the way he described that. This guy,
Yeah.
he good at talking.
Yeah, he is good at talking. Not as good as Humphrey Bogart in the Maltese Falcon, but he is. I mean, no one could be as good as him at anything. But Walter is. Yeah, he's a pretty good talker.
Yeah,
It is really it's interesting to watch him get sucked into the plot to kill what's her name, Phyllis's husband,
yep,
because you can tell that she from the beginning, as you continue to watch the film and you learn more and more about her and you understand her pattern of behavior, like where she seduces men and
yep,
uses them to kill off the man she's been with.
yep,
You realize that from the beginning she was seducing him to do this, but at the same time the film is drawn in such a way that it seems like Walter is also convincing her.
yep, yep,
And
yep,
it's
yep.
it's
That's
not
right.
as simple as him just being suckered by the femme fatale. He himself is also like there's a darkness in him that's pre-existing that is being
Yep,
dredged up.
yep,
So the fact that neither it's not the woman, the femme fatale, who is completely guilty, nor is it the man who is completely guilty. The two of them are partners straight down the line,
yep,
as the film says multiple times, and that kind of gives a resonance to that catchphrase.
yep.
Um,
I agree with that because like for the whole movie, we get the sense that it's Walter who like who in he volunteered to do that. It's
right.
not that he being manipulated by Phyllis,
Yeah.
but he is.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can look at it from two angles, and from
Yep,
each of those angles, you can easily see that both are happening. You know what I mean? At
yep,
the same
yep,
time, there's so multiple characters' motivations are like influencing the direction of the story at once.
Yep.
which is even in a film that's as small in scope as this one, where there's only like 4 or 5 major characters. That's still hard to write,
Yep.
but
Yep. Yep.
Double Indemnity, they wrote it.
The only scene that I think was a bit I would have loved it to improve is the very last scene where Phyllis just failed. She's unable to kill up Walter
Really, you
because
didn't?
he's
Well, okay, what would you change about it, or what didn't you like about it?
I think if she like like, if she go all the way off like I had this woman, I think it would be more believable. This one is just more of a, for me it's like a lip service for to give Phyllis characters like some of emotional depth.
Like kind of a cop out?
Yeah, a bit of a cop out.
I
Yes.
see. Huh. Okay. Interesting. I can definitely see that interpretation. Like you want her to be like cold to the bitter end.
Yeah, but
But I really like that scene
yep.
because the way that I read it was like she shoots him
Hmm.
and can't bring herself to do it again. And I
Yep.
think that this is probably the only time that she's ever attempted to kill someone herself without
Right.
relying on the
Yep.
whatever man she's with to do it for her. So
Yep.
she
Yep.
tried to
Yep.
kill someone herself and found that she wasn't able to do it.
Yep.
And I think that realization and like whatever guilt or
Yep.
like whatever rush of emotion comes over her in that moment,
Yep.
like
That.
pushes past because she's like a psychopath. Her character
Yep.
is straight up like mentally sick.
Yep.
For her to be have been engaging in this pattern of behavior where when she gets bored of somebody, she just decides, well, let's just fucking murder him.
Yep.
So she experiences a rush of humanity, which
Yep.
is it's so powerful that it overrides her
That.
psychopathy,
Mm.
and she realizes that I don't think that she actually loves Walter, and she says so.
Yep.
Like even in
Yep.
that final moment, she says, "I never loved you or anybody else
Until a
until
minute ago.
I couldn't fire that second shot." So even in that moment when she's
Yep.
like, "Hold me close," she hasn't
Yep.
discovered that she's in love with Walter. She's discovered that she has some humanity inside
Yep.
of her that she thought was gone or never existed.
That's a pretty good take from you.
Yeah, and
I actually
I think
take
that's
that.
why she says hold me close, like she's desperate for some human contact because she's discovered that she's human herself.
Yep. Yep.
And that's why I love that scene. I mean, I thought it was maybe the best one in the whole film.
Yep. Yep.
Although I love plenty of other scenes, including the one at the end with Keys.
Oh man. Which scene that I also really like.
What's that?
When Keith and Walter encounter, like they invite the witness.
Right, the guy from
And
Oregon or something,
yeah,
Washington.
the guy that guy.
Yeah,
And when he said like like this guy like the guy that I see he's much younger, and then he looked at Walter and he was like, have I seen him somewhere
yeah,
before? Oh, I love that.
yeah, yeah. It was it's that scene. There's a really difficult balance between suspense and comedy because
Yep.
it's a funny scene. Like this guy is obviously a bumbler and kind of a clown, um, but at the same time, Walter's like life is in danger in that moment.
Yep.
But Walter doesn't like run out of the room and hide or do anything crazy like that. He just
Yep.
plays his odds, and so the film's kind of on a tightrope in that moment,
Yep.
and it all works out, of course, because this is film noir.
I
You can't be done in by a character like that. It's got to be the woman who kills you or tries
Yep.
to.
Yep. Ah. And I love the fact that like as our first instinct we will like put our back so that like the guy can't see our face, but it's precisely that because he can see the face, he see the figure, and he just like I think I saw you from somewhere,
Right. Yeah,
so good.
that is a good scene. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God,
It's a good film. I really
I agree. And like the look from Keys to Walter at the end, you know.
Yeah.
It's just so haunting. Like he definitely hurt by the fact that his trusted friend, the one that the one of the only few that he trusted the most is a killer,
Yeah.
and he still go through with that, with dignities. Just the look, it
Yeah.
just kills me, man.
It's true. The look on his face, he's like racked with grief,
Yep,
and disappointment, and like disappointment in himself as well. I think that's
yep,
one thing
yep,
that adds a dimension to the scene, is that he, of course, he's losing, one of his closest confidants in the office, and somebody who he handpicked him to try and get
yep,
him to be his assistant, or whatever it was that he wanted him to be. Because that's a plot in the movie, like a subplot, is that
and
Walter turns him down.
yep. And
But
oh man, and the dialogue they said, oh, you go on.
what's that?
Uh, like your only mistake is that you overlook the guy who very close to you,
Right,
like just like the next table. That's what he said, and he said like, no, it's closer than that.
right. Yeah.
Oh man.
That's the thing that adds a dimension to that scene for me is not just the relationship between Walter and Keyes, which is very complex, but it's also
Yep.
Keyes, as Walter's life is slipping away from him. Keyes is losing his opportunity to nail the killer,
Right.
because that's Keyes' whole thing, is that he's got the little man in his stomach or in his gut,
Yep.
who's never failed him yet, and in 25 years he's always gotten his man.
Yep.
And Walter dying not only strips him of a close friend, but also it strips him of his like his perfect record. So
Yep.
Walter beat him. Walter, in a sense,
Yep.
Walter won, and Keyes lost, and that there's a bit of bitterness that comes, that creeps into that scene due to that fact.
Yep.
It's interesting that like a character who lays dying on the floor is victorious in a sense,
Yep.
as the film ends, and the man who stands for like truth and I don't know, justice and whatever else, and who has historically always been the victor, is defeated
Hmm.
by his closest ally. It's like it's some Greek tragedy type of stuff
Yep.
a little bit.
That's right.
How those two characters are designed to be like big titans,
Yep.
and one defeats the other in the end, but the winner tragically dies. That you read plays, and that sort of stuff is going on in
Yep.
Shakespeare or whatever.
Yep.
I wish I could think of a close analog from one, because I took a Shakespeare course in college. I wish I could bust out a reference. Oh, this is clearly like this play from
Oh,
such and such a year, written and performed for such and such a king, but
all
I'm not
right.
smart enough for that.
Yeah, just a bit off topic. Talking of Shakespeare, I will watch one of his plays very soon. Like,
Like a film
uh,
adaptation of one of his plays,
no,
or
no,
go
no.
to the theater.
Just go to the theater. It actually this one is Shakespeare by the Lake. So people would perform, a Shakespeare play on the lake, and we just sit around. So that there's no theater, there's no stage at all.
Hmm.
And it's kind of interesting. So the one that I will watch is As You Like It.
Okay,
Have never heard of that.
it's a comedy.
It's a comedy, and I have never been to any of the Shakespeare plays, so looking forward to that.
I think that setting, like a lakeside setting,
Yeah.
to watch that play would be
Uh-huh.
really interesting. I think you'll probably enjoy it. I mean,
Right,
obviously,
right,
it
right.
depends on the troupe and like the
Yeah,
performances and the costuming and et cetera, et cetera. But
yeah,
I think that's an interesting combination of setting and like narrative work.
yeah, yeah. Alrighty. The more I talk about this film, I think the more I will praise this. So,
Yeah, I think
and
it
and
was really
I
good. It like
yeah, I think I
even
praise
his
this.
decision to send Zacchetti away, because Zacchetti comes to the apartment or the house,
Yep,
just after he's killed Phyllis, and he's like the perfect patsy. But instead, he
yep,
sends Zacchetti away, so that he won't be implicated, and so that he
yep,
won't have to see his lover shot dead.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
he didn't have to do
Yep.
that. He
Yep.
didn't have to emerge from the bushes and say anything to him. But I think at that moment, like killing the woman who he had fallen in love
He,
with, he was just done with everything. He realized that he was going to bleed
I,
out and die, and he was
he doing a good deed for for once.
yeah,
That's what I
kind of.
think.
I don't think I doubt that he thought of it that way. He
Yep.
wasn't thinking to himself, "Boy, I'm gonna get some redemption right now." But it was
Yep.
more that he was just tired, you
Yep.
know,
Yep. Yep.
getting shot in the shoulder and realizing that your death is imminent will do that to you, I guess. You
Getting
just get
shot in the
tired of
shoulder.
everything.
Yep. Alrighty. Any other notes before we go into Sunset Boulevard?
uh, I have more notes here, but I don't think they're too
Yeah,
important.
you can. Yeah, you can say once.
No, I don't. I'm looking over them here. I don't see anything that really needs
Yep.
to be said.
And this is, I think, this one improved from the Maltese Falcon in the sense that when the murder actually happened, it happened off screen. We just see the face of of Phyllis at the time.
Yeah. Well, the in terms of the film's story, it's far more involving.
Yeah, yeah, that's
It's
right.
the writing is more complex, and
I
the film does more work in order to deliver that complexity visually as well. It puts
Yep,
it on screen, and it it's a more striking looking film. I remember
yep,
the shot where Walter comes into the house near the end of the film, where he comes into Phyllis's
right.
house and she's sitting in the chair. She's kind of in the center of the frame, and
Yep, yep, yep,
her right ankle is kind of
yep,
stuck out in front of her. She has her legs crossed, and her right ankle is sticking out in front of her so that the light hits it, and that's where
yep.
she wears the anklet on that right ankle, and that calls back to like his internal monologue about the anklet from the beginning of the film.
Right.
And he's in the background. It's really the way that that shot is framed is really interesting. The fact that he enters and he's in the background, she's in the foreground, but it's really just her leg that is kind of intruding on his space in the frame. And I think a lot her sunglasses are really iconic.
Yep,
You know, when you think about this film, you think about Phyllis and those sunglasses, but it's really the anklet that is more interesting to me because of like what it symbolizes. It's kind of like it's constricting. You know, it's like a noose
yep,
or something that will like wind around you and choke you or restrict you in some way.
yep,
It's kind of emblematic of the plot that they find themselves in because everything, you know, it's closing in on them from all sides. Walter
yep,
feels like he's trapped. I think the anklet kind of represents that in
yep.
terms of like a symbol, you know.
And looking and talking about the striking shot, one of the shot that I really like is the one where Walter and Keith talking in the room, and um Phyllis was about to enter the room until she realized that Keith is there.
Right.
So
So
when they
she's
open
behind the
the
door.
yeah, when they open the door, she behind the door, and the shot and go, it just creates a suspense, and that's so great, like the way that it all play out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm a fan
he
of that
doesn't
scenes.
just like Keys doesn't just wait at the elevator and then walk in and disappear. He comes back a little bit to light up a
Yep,
cigarette, I think.
yep, yep, yep,
So the
yep,
fact
yep,
that they like in terms of blocking or choreography, they have the sense or the source of the source of the suspense, the source of the danger in that scene is Keys, and he
yep,
comes towards the camera a little bit
yep,
and then backs away again. So there's the tension and release
yep.
in the way that shot is framed,
That's
which
right.
is I even thought after I had experienced that him coming towards the camera then backing away and standing in front of the elevator again, I thought what was going to happen was he was going to like you know kind of prop the elevator open with his hand
Yep.
and you know not get on or something.
Uh-huh.
I thought there was going to be more.
Yep.
Like I thought the film was
Yep.
priming me to expect that there was going to be more drawn out
Yep.
tension there. But he did, and he disappeared, and then you can kind of slump into
Yep.
your seat and let go of your breath that you've been holding.
Yep.
Okay, what's next?
Yep, yep, it's good, it's good. Whew. Yeah, but it's one hell of a film. But I think we can get to Sunset Boulevard from the narration of a dead man.
Right. Yeah, Sunset Boulevard, or if I could propose an alternate title, an
Yep,
utterly unconvincing portrait of mental illness.
unconvincing. Yep,
Unconvincing.
right.
Is this
When
what
I
is
talk,
this what people thought crazy people acted like in 1950?
I don't know. All right, I just say one thing that in double in indemnity, I was telling you about the fact that I didn't want Phyllis to change at the end
Oh yeah.
because it just create like a superficial emotional you know
Man, I
high
can't say that I
uh
agree. But
yep,
yeah,
but
I get
here
what you mean. Like the film is
yep,
compromising
yeah,
the like the
but
I don't know, the coldness. I keep saying coldness. I was looking for another word, but the film's compromising the coldness of the femme fatale character.
yep, but here in Sunset Boulevard, it just like we see we see like a film fantasy who like crazy and all over the top, like like from beginning to end, and it's just too much for me.
Yeah, I completely agree, dude.
I just think like this is a really great effort from the actress, but it's just utterly one note for me.
Yeah, well, the thing is, she delivers every single line the same way, and I can even describe how she does it. She bugs out her eyes, she
Yep,
flares her nostrils, she tilts her
yep,
chin back, and she grits her teeth. Every line is read that way. Every
yep.
aspect of her performance includes those four like physical notes, and it's
That's
exhausting.
right. It it get a bit tiresome at the end. Yes.
Yeah, well, I just don't, I just don't think that there was like a very strong understanding of mental illness, perhaps, in the
Yep.
1950s. And as a result, you get performances like this, which were probably hailed as revolutionary, when in reality they had no basis whatsoever in reality. I don't know what this.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
I think that's probably the point is that she is so like lost in her
delusional.
delusions that
Yep.
she's gonna act this way all the time. She's lost her
I
touch. Um,
I think that like she acted this way so that like it justified the very ending because the ending worked for me.
hmm.
But if she has been like anything less crazy, the ending wouldn't work.
I suppose I didn't like the ending very much,
Right.
where she's under the impression that all the cameras that are there, obviously because there's a murder scene,
Yep.
and they want to get the scoop about the aging actress who's killed her lover. She
Yep.
thinks that they're movie cameras and she's on set. Blah blah blah.
Yep.
I don't know. I didn't really. I think there was something really weird about this
Uh-huh.
film,
Right.
like an attitude that underpins the film
Right.
about Hollywood. Uh, is
Right.
the idea like is the message of the film that Hollywood is too eager to move on and like be contemporary and technologically advanced, and it leaves people behind, and that's wrong.
I yeah, I agree with you until the part that that's wrong
Okay.
because
So you don't
yeah,
think that the
I
film is taking a moral stand one way or the other?
no, yeah, no, I don't think so. But I think there is like a satire effect, aspect of it to the Hollywood. So it a bit, like exaggerating. It's a bit, like
Oh,
a
it's
bit
certainly
cynical.
exaggerated.
Yeah, it's a bit cynical as well. The
Cynical.
way that the way that they look into the Hollywood industry. So yeah, well,
Huh.
yeah,
Okay.
because it is from the guy who is like that of his luck, writer who is not that good as being a screenwriter either, but he take all the advantage that he can so that he can like have financial support, climb up the social, like standing and all that,
Hmm. I don't. Would you say that whatever his character does, whatever Joe's character does, is the way that I don't know. Like Joe himself is obviously a cynical character.
Hmm.
It's apparent in all of his narration and
Hmm.
his attitude in general. But I don't know. Like in terms of the film's cynicism, if it is a cynical film, I would say that it probably stems from the way that what's her face acts, Norma, because she's the one who's been driven crazy by not being able, like not being desirable, I guess, or not being wanted by Hollywood anymore. And I think that's like where one of my issues with this film lies, is that the film thinks that Norma is like pitiful because she couldn't survive in Hollywood.
Yep.
She's But I think that Hollywood is pitiful because it thinks that Norma can't survive without it.
Right.
Like
Right.
Hollywood, the Hollywood machine, or some people who work within it, created this film in which a character who can't make it in Hollywood is driven crazy because oh no, she's being kept out of the golden city of Hollywood. She's been kicked out of paradise. It
Hmm.
it created a film where a character can't get into Hollywood, and that is such a blow to them that it drives them mad. In fact, she tries to kill herself multiple times
Yep.
because she can't be a Hollywood actress anymore.
I think the film take a pity stand at her as well. Like a star who that had lost his touch, uh, that had lost her touch, and a star who 50s but still acting like 20s. So it have like all the pities, like sentiment to her. I can see the point that you make as well
Does the
about the
film
whole.
pity her character?
I would say so. I would definitely say that the main characters is pity her.
Yeah. Well, he pities her, but not in a particularly gentle way.
Yep.
He just thinks that she's like sad. In fact, he thinks so little of her that when he's packing up his stuff, and
Yep.
she's like, "You don't think I have a gun, do you?" And she goes
Yeah.
and gets the gun and shows it to him. I'm going to be complaining about a character not doing something they obviously should have done
Yep.
again, like I did with the Maltese Falcon. But she's like, "Here, look at this gun. See, I bought it so I could kill myself." Here, and why
Yeah.
doesn't he just take his hand, lift it up,
Yep.
grab the gun, take it away from her?
No, that's why he pay his due, man,
What
for
do you
not
mean?
listening to what the girl say. So
Oh,
so that he gets shot in the end,
why would he not take the gun? Like, let's say that he thinks so little of her, he doesn't think that she's a threat to him. Like
Yep.
he doesn't think that she's crazy enough to kill him. Um, I mean, mind you, he should think that she's crazy enough to kill him.
Yep.
But even if he discounts that possibility, wouldn't he want to take the gun away from her so she doesn't kill herself? Wouldn't
Yeah.
that be
I
something that
I
he wants
yeah,
to
I
do?
just don't
Uh,
yeah, I just don't think he take it seriously, so that he don't even think that it's a real gun that's he has.
he doesn't think it's a real gun. Why
Yeah.
wouldn't they include a line of dialogue like, "Oh, come off it. That thing's just a toy."
Well,
Something like that. You throw that in there real
my
quick, and then it's even more devastating when he's killed because it was a real gun after all.
yeah, based on his attitude, like he doesn't give her like any chances, and I think that what he deserved to get.
That's what he
I don't know,
deserves.
man.
Huh?
Yeah, well,
Maybe. I don't know. What did he do in this film that was like illegal?
he doesn't do anything illegal
Well,
there.
he hides his
Actually, he
car when it's supposed to be taken away from him. I guess is that.
yeah,
I guess
that's
that's
the
illegal.
that's the only illegal thing that he has because I think he's under he's under the contract of writing the script
Right.
for
Yeah.
for Noma. So
That's what binds him to Norma for most of the film is that he's like the arrangement that they have is Once you get to the halfway point, he's not staying there for the script anymore. But that's how he
Yep.
gets hooked into it. That's how the film, sets
Yep.
itself on its course. But I don't he didn't do that much that was illegal. Obviously, he's still a scumbag for playing into this woman's delusions and uh, I don't know, pretty much everything else that he does. But I don't know, man. I have an issue. I have an issue with this film.
Yep.
The way that because it's not as though Norma, really exists, and the film this is some documentary that is showing how sad and pitiful she was, and that this should never happen again, and
Yep.
people like this should be helped, and Hollywood should do something about this. Like, this is a character that Hollywood created in order to demonstrate how sad it is that people can't be in Hollywood films anymore. It just seems kind of self-serving. Like Hollywood is saying to you, "Oh man, wouldn't you go crazy like this woman too if you couldn't be in a movie? God, I would just want to kill myself." Oh, maybe that's what we should have this character do. She just wants to kill herself because she can't be in any of our movies anymore. How devastating! Like, I don't know. I just don't like the attitude that kind of underpins the story.
Well, I be honest with you that out of the three films, this is still my least favorite. And
The less than the Maltese Falcon.
oh man, I love the Maltese Falcon. I love all the bullshit, man.
Okay.
Um, because I also think that this is kind of like a satire of the Hollywood, but at the same time, it's kind of celebrating the Hollywood itself, so that they have like all these all these like real life figures playing themselves. Like you see the director
Cecil B.
DeMille.
DeMille.
Yes, Cecil B.
Yep.
DeMille.
Buster Keaton
He's
was in it as well.
oh I didn't actually note it, but
He was one of
Buster
the
Keaton.
bridge players when she has
Right.
people over to play bridge, and he calls them the Waxworks. That's his
All
name,
right.
the name for him. Buster Keaton was one
Yep.
of them.
Wow. Right.
Those are the only
Yep.
two people I recognized. I
Nice.
think there were others. Like, some of the other bridge players were also former or maybe
Yeah.
current, I don't know, Hollywood stars who were playing themselves. But Keaton was the only one I knew.
I do think that the dark the really darkest play characters that we see in this movie is the butler, Max from my Link.
There were three
He's
American directors who showed promise in the early days of the silent films: D.W.
and
Griffith, Cecil B. DeMille, and me.
that's him, and he actually played by the real director as well.
Oh yeah,
Yep. So I would say that the director that he played was also like one of the uh he played a version of himself, but not as the same name.
right.
The reason why I say that he's one of the darker characters because he's the one who plays with Norma delusional the most. So he fit up all her dreams.
Right.
He's like he kind of serve everything that make Norma happy and that make her the way she's now.
Yeah. Well, he was her first husband. I thought it was a
Yeah.
very weird reveal because there's that
That
scene in, I think it's the garage, where
yeah.
Joe is talking to Max, and he's like, and Max says, "I was her first husband," and then the music goes. "Duh!" The orchestra
Boom.
freaks out like it does whenever anything dramatic happens in any one of these films,
It
and
it sound
then
kind of
it cuts
twisted,
away, and then like, what, I don't know. I thought that he was gonna, like, in that moment he was gonna reveal, like, fly into a jealous rage or something and attempt to hurt Joe somehow, or I don't know.
Yeah.
It just seemed like a very dramatic reveal and then nothing.
Because I think but itself is kind of twisted the way that like he was her first husband and now he become he was a famous director and now he just become a butler of like of this delusional star 50s in her 50s.
Right. Well, I mean, you could argue that he is just as delusional as she is,
That's
because
right.
he's so obsessed with her that he, you know,
He would do
creates this
anything.
perfect fairy tale life for her where she can just push reality away and never have to face it. I mean, in the
Yep.
process of doing that, he's creating the same life for himself.
Yep. That's
Only
right.
he hasn't tried to take his own life multiple times, and they can't have any locks on the doors.
Yep.
The the I don't know, the film's attitude towards like suicidal ideation. She she tries to slit her wrist with Joe's razor.
Yep.
After I think that's after he leaves. Is that right?
Yeah. So
He gets the call at the party.
yeah. That's right.
Yeah. And so then he comes back. She's got her wrists bandaged and stuff and her arms, and she's lying in bed, but she's allowed to stay at home with no, with just Max there after she's tried to
Ye-
kill herself.
Apparently, because he's too rich, that she allowed to, like it did safe for her to stay by herself.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't I mean that's probably just obviously I'm watching all these films like 70, 80 years after they've been made.
Yep.
So I'm imposing some of my own values on them when perhaps I shouldn't. But that sticks out to me. Like obviously
Yep.
when this film was made there wasn't a strong understanding of like mental
Mental
illness.
illness.
Yeah,
Yep.
and if somebody tried to kill themselves, then you just patch them up and you go on your merry way. Um,
Yeah. Apparently, that what happened in these
Yeah.
movies.
Well, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head when you said that she's just so rich she can be left on her own. Maybe that's the idea, is that they don't want to cause any sort of scandal because she was like rich and famous, or maybe she just says like she has enough influence that she says, "Oh no, just leave me here. I'll be fine.
Yep.
I don't want to go to the hospital. I might see a young nurse there who's really pretty and like want to murder her because I'm so crazy. I don't know." This this film just didn't really convince me that it had anything to say apart from Hollywood kind of like twistedly and maybe unintentionally glamorizing itself.
Yep. 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 I think the twisted word that you say is pretty much nail it.
Yeah, but I can't really buy it as a satire or as particularly cynical either. I mean, as I said
Yep.
before, Joe's definitely cynical, but when you're dealing with satire, there's typically more of like I don't know, like there won't be such a full throttle, eyes bugged out, nostrils flared, chin tilted back, teeth gritted performance as Norma gives in this movie. Like there's a little bit more subtlety when you're dealing with satire. Typically, there won't
Yep.
be a character who's just like completely all the way in the loony bin two times over.
All
So I
right.
don't know. I don't know if I can read it as anything other than it is.
How do you take on the subplot between Joe and Betty?
I don't know. Similar to the Maltese Falcon, I didn't really feel as like Double Indemnity. You can feel the heat between Walter and Phyllis. It's
Yep.
not you watch a modern romance just
Yep.
in general, not necessarily a romantic film, but a romance like between two characters. In a modern film, they can go a little bit further. They can be a little bit more graphic. Audiences are primed to accept that sort of thing, and I think that helps a little bit.
Hmm.
Well, not just a little bit; it helps a lot because physicality is important. But in Double Indemnity, even though you didn't really, those two characters weren't really physical with one another, you could still like the dynamic evolving between them really like stuck them together.
Yep.
Not just in terms of what they were roped into, but also in terms of their attachment to one another. In this film and in the Maltese Falcon, man, I don't know. I just like it's probably they weren't allowed to show much. And so whatever romance is developing between two characters is just limited to like whatever we get here.
Yep.
I didn't
Yep.
really buy the fact that she was falling in love with him. Um,
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm just
Yep.
rambling. I didn't think much of the Joe and Betty subplot.
Right. Yep. Yep. Well,
I mean I can the setup that they're both alone at night writing you
Yep.
know, then that's something she's really wanted for a long time, and he's, you know, like encouraging her, and of course he's also being a jerk as well, you know, and being kind of sarcastic with her, but he's also, you know, like giving her a little bit of encouragement and working with her towards a goal that she's wanted for a long time. And in that sort of situation, a romance could easily arise. But the way that do you remember the scene where he like kisses her on the nose and then
Yep.
says, "Oh, you smell so delicious," and then like he grabs her by the shoulders and he's like, "And you better stay 2 feet away from me at all times." Weren't you the one who was like all over her and like pulling her in close to you to begin with? And then you're like, stay away from me, you evil temptress.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
It's so
That's
goofy, you know.
that's fantastic.
It's silly, but again, that's just me talking from the year 2022.
Yep.
I don't know. Maybe when people saw this film 72 years ago, they were like, "Oh boy, this pair is so dreamy together."
Yep. All right. I will say that it is double indemnity that you watched first, right? And then
Um,
you will text me like, oh, I
yes,
love the whole
yeah. When
the
I
whole
said,
Noir
"Hey,
thing.
film noir is pretty good," I watched Double Indemnity first. Then I saw
Yep.
Sunset Boulevard, and I said, "Man, I don't know about this whole film noir thing." And then
Yep.
I watched the Maltese Falcon, and I just sent you that picture that said, "Huh?"
Yep. Yep. I understand. But surprisingly, it's not that surprisingly that it's Sunset Boulevard and Maltese Falcon are the more popular ones compared to Double Indemnity.
Well, to be honest, a statement like that I can't make heads or tails of. Like,
Yeah. Yep.
I have no way of gauging what that sort of popularity means for these sorts of films, or how much of it comes from their original release versus their reception over time and modern attitudes towards them.
Yep.
And I can't
Same here.
say I couldn't be like sarcastic and say something like, "Oh, well, of course the best one is the one that's the least popular," because I have no idea
Yep.
how, you know, over the course of 70 or 80 years, how that sort of the views of the films evolved and stuff. But man,
Yep.
of course, the one that I like the most is the one people
Yep.
don't care as much about. I think Sunset Boulevard, if I had to guess, I would say that the reason a lot of people love it is because it is so metatextual. Like there are references to films and actors and directors all throughout it, and people are playing themselves, which I have to
Yep.
imagine hadn't happened very many times before in Hollywood at this
Yep.
point.
Yep.
So people probably went nuts over that. They were like, "Oh, this is really wild and experimental," that sort of
Yep.
thing. And it probably was at that time. But now, I mean, since that time, we've got Charlie Kaufman writing scripts. So in terms of like meta commentary, Sunset Boulevard has been blown not only out of the water but out of like the stratosphere. So
All
it's
right.
not really that crazy for a character to be talking about film in a film anymore.
Yeah.
Um,
But I still enjoy these three as like as for what they are. They they seem pretty entertaining to watch.
yeah,
I Yeah, I'm still not buying her performance in Sunset Boulevard as Noma, but apart from that, I think the show like all these three protagonists who have who always have like a snide remark.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
Particularly Sam Spade.
the only one who doesn't have a narration.
That's true. Yeah, they can't. They couldn't deliver any of his quips or one-liners through a monologue or narration, so they just had to have him say it all the time. Whenever anyone did
Yep,
anything, he would be like,
yep,
"Keep your hands off me," or "Keep your head on, sweetheart," or
yep.
something like
Am I
that.
talking too fast?
Yeah, that's well. I did appreciate that. Like the two
Yep,
moments that I was talking about earlier. The "Are you getting all this, son?"
yep,
and
yep,
the clear understanding line.
yep.
Obvious winks to the audience. And I was entertained by both of those. I thought that was pretty amusing, given what the film was like stylistically.
Yep.
Um, But I can't say that I like quote unquote appreciate the films for what they are. I don't really have an attachment to film noir or the history of cinema in general. So
Yep.
if I see a film and I don't particularly like it or I think it's just corny,
Yep.
that's really the thought that's at the front of my mind. This is just silly. Boy, this is just goofy.
You,
Um,
yeah, you know what? You can say all your thoughts on the review on Letterboxd and see, how people respond. Like I would be sure that a lot of people who will share your sentiments, and a whole lot will be, like, what are you talking about?
oh
But
well, of course. Well, the interesting thing about Letterbox is that the film snobs are there, but more and more the mass audience is there as well, because
yep.
people treat Letterbox like Twitter now, and just
Huh.
regular film goers are hopping on there and giving like a 1 or 2 line review, hoping that it gets enough likes that it gets on the front page.
Yep. 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 Yep.
So you got a lot of fans of franchises and Marvel and stuff
Yep.
who are on there who will click on the Sunset Boulevard page and be like, or the Maltese Falcon page and be like, this film was stupid and it was degrading to women,
Yep.
which it is, but it was 1941.
Yep.
That was another thing that made me crack up while I was watching that movie was the way that he kept calling people angel,
Yep.
sweetheart, princess, whatever else.
Yep.
How must women have felt watching that movie, man? Were they just like
Uh,
Humphrey Bogart is so dreamy? Is that what was crossing their mind as they heard that stuff?
I yeah, I have no idea. No.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know either. I can't go back in time and interview people from 1941. How did you feel walking out of the theater? Having seen this movie, the only thing we can do is watch it ourselves and praise it or make fun of it, as the case may be.
Yep. 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 All right, so that wrap up our Noir week. What would be our next project, Whooper?
Was it thrillers or
I
psychological thrillers? I think it was like
All
Black
right.
Swan and Session 9 or something.
All right. Yep.
And
I had no idea, so I'm looking it up now.
okay, am I mixing up Session 9 with Section
All right.
9, or is it actually called
Yes,
Session 9?
Session 9 plus one and Gone Girl.
Gone Girl, that's right. Fincher.
All right.
So Fincher,
We can do that.
Aronofsky, and who directed Session 9?
Uh, Brad Anderson, I think.
Huh, okay. I've never even heard of Mr.
Uh,
Anderson.
yeah. This Session I haven't watched before.
Oh, okay. Oh, so this will probably be your first time watching a film for the first time, or had you not
Yep.
seen Wheel of Fortune and Fantasy before?
No, no, no. I have seen all this info. So this is the first time that
Okay.
I will watch something new for this.
Session 9. All right. Okay, well, looking forward to it. I've of course I know lots about Black Swan. I've never seen the film. I don't know much about the director, but I know who stars in it, and I remember the controversy surrounding it back in like 2010 or something.
Yep.
So that'll be interesting.
All right. All right. There's not much of controversy actually, but yep.
Oh,
Let's
okay.
do it. Let's do it.
Yeah. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Oh no, in a month, right? Because we're talking about
In a
anime
month.
on Double Cross Anime next week,
Yep.
or
Yep.
2 weeks
That's
from now,
right.
I should say.
Alrighty. See you soon.
Adios.